Hi, my name is Donna Reed from United Yoga Montreal. And today we're going to look at a posture that we teach a lot, which is Viparita Karani in Sirsasana, or Sirsasana with a Viparita Karani position in the pelvis. Okay, so we teach this pose a lot at the studio, actually. So that's why I want to go over it so that some of you that are coming into the classes know how to get into this posture. So first, you want to make sure that you have a chair, so a yoga chair, that you put against a wall, and then a bolster or some blankets that you build up to a height that is comfortable for you when you're going to come and bring the pelvis. Okay, so even sometimes this pose is done where we actually take the bolster completely off when you have the opening in the shoulders and the chest, and that you can get your pelvis completely down onto the chair. But for today, we're going to start with a bolster on top of the chair. Then you're going to also need a belt to come and bring around your elbows to make sure that your elbows don't move outwards. Okay, so at one point, this belt, we get rid of it also when you're able to keep the elbows in line with the shoulders in the Sirsasana position. Okay, so when you measure your belt, you put the belt at your elbows so that your wrist, elbows, and shoulders are in one line. Okay, you do what you do to go into headstand. So basically, I'm going to come a little bit closer to the camera here. So basically, you still come and bring your hands where you interlace your fingers. Yes. And you can bring your little finger inside so that it's a little bit easier for you to come and bring the wrist and forearms to the floor. Okay. And you make sure that you keep a little bit of a space. So for me, I always say to my students, think about it as you have a little birdie inside your hands, and you don't want that birdie to fly away, but you don't want to squeeze it either. So your wrists aren't touching completely together. Okay. So basically, we want to have the outside of the hand, the back of the hand, the wrist and the forearm, and then the elbows. And yes, I'm going to ask you in this position to try to scrub a little bit or squeeze the elbows inward so that you're loosening the belt. You're not pushing into the belt. Okay, so that will be the work. Okay, so here's how we get into the pose. So you come close to the chair, and you're going to come and bring the knuckles of your fingers basically where the legs of the chair are. Okay, so that's where the knuckles come in. Then you're going to come and bring your elbows to the floor. And when you come and bring your elbows to the floor, I'm going to ask you to basically take the skin from the elbow and move the skin from the outside to the inside. And that will help stabilize the shoulder girdle a little bit. Then you're going to interlace your fingers like I showed you before. You bring that little finger inside. And then you press into the outer hand, forearms, and elbows. Then you're going to come to a pincha downward dog position. So your head is not on the floor, okay? And then in the pincha down dog, you're going to press on an exhale into the outer hands, into the forearms and elbows. And you're going to lift your shoulder girdle away towards your hips so that you start to stabilize the shoulders and you move your shoulders away from your neck. You're going to kick up in this position. So you're not bringing the head on the floor when you kick up. Okay, so you press down into the forearms, wrist, elbows. You lift the shoulder girdle up towards the hips, and then you kick up. You bring your feet against the wall. I still have my head off of the floor. Then, as I keep pressing on an exhale into my wrist, forearms, into the floor, I lift my shoulder girdle up, and I move my outer armpits a little bit more to the center of the room to then come and bring the crown of the head to the floor. Once my crown of the head is on the floor again, I press down into my forearms, my wrists, my elbows. I squeeze my elbows slightly in, always on an exhale. Then once I've done that, yes, I lift my shoulder blades again. And with the lift of my shoulder blades, I'm going to come and bring the pelvis now on top of the bolster. Once the pelvis is on the bolster, lengthen the tailbone away from your spine, and then extend your legs upwards. Once your legs are upward, you can either keep your legs here for a little while, and then when you start to get a little bit more skilled, you bring your legs to the Viparita Karani position where your heels, your knees, and your hips are in one line. And yes, the legs are always rotating inward. Okay, so full extension of the legs,
Rotation of the thighs inward, big toe mounds, inner heels, pushing upwards and spreading of the toes. Then you build this pose up to stay to about 5 or 6 minutes into the pose. Then to come out of the pose, you bend your leg, you bring your feet into the wall, you press the feet on an exhale in the wall, and then you lift your pelvis. Then you lift your head off the floor also. So your head is no longer on the floor. Then exhale, come back down, and then come to a wide-legged child's pose to rest. All right, so I hope that helps to help you get into the pose. Now it's going to be just practice. Thank you. Hope that helped. Namaste.